Hello, welcome. Carl Steinbeck here. Want to jump on tonight and talk about a couple things. First thing being the fact that we have this information being released about Donna's and Charlie's telephone conversations from the Leon County Jail. What we heard today was snippets. They're representing the conversation as being between um, Donna and Charlie, but what actually that short clip was is something that actually Fancy Fiction mentioned a couple of weeks ago, that it was obviously directed conversation with Harvey. So the plan and pact to have a suicide action was between her and Harvey, excuse me. And apparently this was the recording had stopped, or this was maybe before the call. We're not sure, but obviously this was not a call taking place with Charlie. So Charlie was not aware of this apparently, and we'll find out more as more video recordings are released here. I understand Deep Dive True Crime is going to release that here starting tonight, here shortly, and then release them in subsequent days as well. There's probably many, many hours worth of video. So not sure who's going to be able to get through all that, but anyway, there should be some more indicators of guilt there as well. So that remains to be seen, as there's probably many hundreds and hundreds of hours that are being released. I'm not sure if any of those are going to be screened off or not. So that was sort of a main takeaway from today. A lot of people talking about it, and I decided to talk about this issue about hiring local counsel. I did see that Fancy had put something up on Twitter, now known as X, about the fact that there is some looking around for attorneys there in Tallahassee. And I actually did call her this afternoon, and she indicated that is something that she's getting from absolutely credible source, and that has panned out before. And so what's happening is there is a switch of counsel. Apparently, that's going to be Marcella's going to be removed as counsel. She's just too far away to really be doing the kind of a hand holding and assurance that that Donna really needs to have there. And so what's going to switch out from Miami, though, is Daniel Rashbaum is going to take over. He already has a long-term established relationship with Donna, as well as Charlie, of course, and as well as Harvey. So it looks like he's going to take over and sort of be the lead. And then there's going to be a local counsel that apparently what's going on is Daniel Rashbaum's interviewing folks to see who's the best fit. And I suspect that they're probably going to have Donna be the ultimate decider of who gets hired or not. That's not going to be something that Rashbaum is going to pick on his own. Of course, he could make some recommendations, or maybe he'll have, pick the best three that he interviews around town, and based on the top three, let Donna decide from the top three. So there'll be some kind of screening process. Granted, the stakes are high in this case, and they're looking for somebody that can actually be there, available to go on almost a daily basis, is my estimation, to go see Donna, reassure her, talk about the case, encourage her that she's got a fighting chance, she's got to hold out. And I think this also leads to the issue that something that Marcella alluded to, which is she didn't use the word speedy trial, but she wanted to move dates quicker, and prompt, I think, is the word she used. And instead of having February, March as the next conference set up to see where they're at, she asked to have it in January 9th. And that was actually granted by Judge Everett. So I think Judge Everett was probably a little surprised for that. Normally defense wants as much time as possible, but because I think the issue of her deteriorating and being in a suicide watch cell, and not having local counsel there is really a detriment to a client in that condition. And so I think it's a smart move for the defense to recommend local counsel. And obviously, Charlie could get by with having many hours of phone calls all day long there, but he wasn't in long suicidal watch like his mom is right now. So I think that will maybe allow her to get off suicide watch sooner. They can, she can talk to her lawyer, be encouraged to go ahead and settle down and not be talking about wanting to die and stuff like that. So I think it's also going to be a less of a burden on the jail staff dealing with a inmate that's acting up and acting out and throwing tantrums and stuff like that, making accusations. And so I think it's going to be, in the end, we're going to have less motions, emergency motions and stuff like that, I suspect. So, and if they do go ahead and do the speedy trial, I looked it up on Florida law. From the time of your arrest, if you demand speedy trial, you have to do within 175 days. So 5 days short of 180 or 6 months is a standard. And so that they would have to be ready to go to trial sometime around early May at the latest. And with this case being such a lock solid case, they've had already multiple bites at the apple here. The prosecution has. They have such a fine oiled machine with both Georgia and Sarah being able to just crush any opposition with these kind of facts. So I think it's something that they'll definitely be ready for. I think the government, if you look at it from when they first arrested the hitman, Luis Rivera, his counsel demanded speedy trial, and he was able to use that as leverage because it was such a lot of loose ends to tie together. His counsel was able to use that as leverage to cut a better deal. So I think in this case, it's not to cut a better deal. It's just basically to make sure that the client doesn't break down mentally. Because if they wait a year and a half for her, I just think she's not gonna be able to hold up well, and it's just going to be a lot of misery all the way around for a whole lot of people, including defense attorneys, of course. And if your client's breaking down like that, I mean, just look how people are breaking down with COVID and stuff like that. I know military deployments, you start hitting the wall about 7, 8 months. Definitely by the 8th month mark, most people are hitting the wall. They start acting different. They start acting very, very tense and aggressive and whatnot. And it starts really eating on you, what you're missing back home. So that's what I'm sure is going to be going on for her. But if she gets a speedy trial and she's, in her mind, she's going to be out of there by the first week of May at the latest. So just like Charlie thought he was going to win, I think she thinks she's going to win. She's going to walk out of there, and that'll be the last of any Adelsons arrests. But that remains to be seen, of course. I think there'll be more arrests, and so it's going to be very interesting to see how soon the timing of this is. And I think the issue is now which attorney, of course, is going to be best being able to handle Donna. And I think if it's somebody that Donna thinks she can control, then I think they're going to be button heads. But if the attorney is able to take charge, you want to have an attorney that's stronger than the client and able to put them in their spot as needed. If you notice, when Donna was sitting at her counsel table, she's muttering stuff and acting out, making facial expressions and all that. And her counsel did not correct her, and she probably didn't even have much time to talk to her about it. I don't know how much time they actually sat in there and conversed before they had the hearing start up. But that's one thing that lawyers do, is they tell their clients, look, you need to let me be your mouthpiece. You let me to do all the arguing. You just stand there. If I need to know something, you can just make us, a quiet motion to me. I think she didn't have access to a pen or anything like that because she's in shackles. But let me know if there's something I need to know that you think I'm missing. But normally you're prepared ahead of time. Your client really doesn't need to tell you anything else that you don't already know. And if there's a reason you're not bringing up something that they want you to bring up, there's a good reason for it. So in any event, I think the local council thing will help this thing go faster. There'll be faster justice for the Markells. And in the end, no matter who they get, I don't care if they get the best attorney in Tallahassee, whoever that may be for this kind of case. In the end, the evidence will result in a conviction based on the strength of it. There's her own words that are going to convict her, just like they did for Charlie. And then you look at all the hateful words that she used in her email to her daughter, and also the thing will be the exact same. The scripts are already laid out for the prosecutors to use in the in the case against Donna, because they already have the whole scripts that they use for Charlie. So basically, just got to rehash everything, call the same witnesses. They could call them in the same order. And what they need to do is just add the aspect of her trying to flee the country, and some of those other phone calls and stuff. So I think there's probably some other evidence in the phone calls as well. So we'll see what happens with those being revealed here in the public here in the coming days. And so it's really going to be a straight shot, clear cut win for the prosecutors. And in any event, I'll try to see your questions here. Looks like Leo's a little jealous. So if you do have questions, I would please ask you if you put them in red quotation marks, like three red quotation marks. Those are the easiest to see before and end. Otherwise, it can be a little bit hard to see those. So looks like there's a lot of chatter here. that I'm just skipping over because I'm looking for the questions. Okay, I'm still looking. A lot of comments among the group. That's good. Let's see here. So Teresa is saying, do you think that this trial is going to come quickly? As per her attorney saying she would be ready by January. There's a hearing on January 9th. Yes, I think that if the trial was supposed to be January 9th, that would be a little bit too fast for the state. The state would ask for continuance to get closer to that, closer to that 6-month window, minus 5 days, of course. So I think the soonest we'd be looking at trial date is probably the end of April or May, early May then. So Pat Brown is saying none of this matters, right, Carl? She's dying in prison. Well, I don't see her getting off with an acquittal, and even if she's cutting a deal, I just don't see anything where she's going to be able to survive the amount of time and the way she the kind of life she would have in prison. Yeah, that would be highly unlikely. I don't see that being a realistic outcome. That's probably also another reason why she's not going to flip. She's not going to flip on a family member. In her mind, Rashbaum's going to help get him acquittal. Think about it. He knows the case inside and out. He had zero evidence to present for Charlie other than that one attorney of Wendy to try to refute the aspect that she was looking at some trouble with the state bar and also her job, although the job thing didn't come up. I wish that would have came up. But in the end, it's really a slam dunk win for the government here. I don't know if you guys can hear the purring here going on. So here's YB's asking, do they pay the attorneys with stapled money? Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that again. But I think if you think about how much money they got involved, I mean, Rashbaum already made over $1 million on Charlie's. He's probably going to demand at least that for Donna, and maybe he's also lining up appellate counsel for Charlie and getting a cut of that as a referral. So probably getting another couple $100,000 for that. And then if Donna gets convicted, he's going to get more big bucks for that. So I mean, it's a real big money maker for any defense attorneys having clients like this. Rosemary Romero saying, have I heard the post-conviction phone calls between Charlie and Donna? Just that one that we heard is actually a phone call between Harvey and Donna, the one that I heard today that everybody's saying is between Charlie and Donna. It was part of their jail recording, and so that's why I think the news reporters are saying it was between Charlie and Donna. That's the only reason they'd have that recording. But like I say, it's either before or after. And they're also talking about making sure she, meaning Wendy, knows about the cemetery plots and has the information about their states that they've lined up. So it sounds like they didn't even let Charlie know what they're plotting, this escape / suicide plan. And so the question is, did Wendy even know about this? I assume if they're telling her about cemetery plot and stuff like that, maybe they told her that just in case they said, well, if we die overseas, here's stuff, just keep our affairs in order. So who knows what the ground truth of that is. So Tony Bernales is asking, what's going to happen once Donna is sentenced to prison for life? Well, she's going to be remanded to the state prison, just like Charlie is. I understand he's still there today, and so he's not left yet, but that's going to be in the coming days. So she's going to go to Central Processing Facility, and they'll stick her in a prison. And I think they also have like prisons that are dedicated for females. If not, they'll have a total dedicated female wing, obviously. And based on that, she'll be around females and have the same kind of rough prison food and won't have the kind of threats and violence that I think Charlie will be facing on a daily basis. But I think there could be threats and extortion there. I think those are pretty much a given. And so they're going to be having to pay bribes and whatnot and trying to avoid fighting and stuff like that. And at 73, you can't fight. You're not going to be able to stand up to bullies and stuff like that. So Debbie's Martin is asking, so Rashbaum will be the lead attorney. I think in terms of as a strategist, I think he'll be the lead attorney. I think the main thing that a local attorney will do will be there to serve as basically provide support for Donna and letting her know that, they are working the case, and just to have contact with the outside world, because if she can't see visitors on weekends, think about it. Most jails normally have visitors hours either during the week for limited period or else on weekends. And so not being able to have that can really help you speed up your mental breakdown. So I think it'll help her keep mentally fit to be able to take part in her defense on this cat. Yeah, so Eileen McCarthy is saying Ruth and Phil are supposed to see Ben and Lincoln next week, and yeah, the name Markel should be there, right? And yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. That's a big if. So yeah, this is Leo here, my co-host. Yeah, oh, he is not happy with me on this thing. So Woodall's asking, do you think it's possible for Donna to work with an attorney who's in charge? I think she is a person who has to be in control and want to handle a straight talker. Yeah, I mean, here's what's going on. A lot of people, when they meet with their attorney, they want to tell their attorney how it's going to be, and this is what they want their attorney to say, everything that they want to hear. Yeah, we can win. Yeah, I can win it for you. You got a strong case. Give me, and then a big exorbitant amount of money as your retainer, and it's either a flat rate. I think it's going to be a flat rate and not an hourly rate, but then I'll say, then I'll charge you like $800 an hour off of that. So in any event, the thing is that the relationship sort of has to grow, because if you come on strong and tough right in the beginning and saying this is what's going on, you got a tough case, and obviously the conversation is going to be, what is my chance with you? And so how many attorneys are going to sit there and say, well, yeah, really no matter, it really matters who you have, because I can win your case. If they really say that, it's going to be really misleading. But I think that goes on a lot. I've not seen that happen as an attorney, but I've heard about other people saying that, well, the other attorney down the street says they can guarantee, this particular wonderful outcome. And there is no guarantees on a lot of stuff. I have made guarantees before because I knew I could back it up. Unless you know for sure you can back it up, then it's really something that's inappropriate as an attorney. So it remains to be seen what kind of method they use to try to win over her as a client. But they may not really want to win that hard her over as a client, because there could be some negative fallout. And as a member of the local legal community, you're going to be known as the person that represented Donna Adelson, and so you're going to sort of have that as part of your case history, that some people may not want to hire you because of that. And obviously, if the case is doesn't turn out well and you lose the case, I don't think that's ever good advertising. All right, you're gonna have to go down. Sorry, Leo. I think that's it'd be really interesting to be a fly in the wall there and see how it's going to shake out. So I don't know which attorney it will be, but it's obviously going to be then probably a conversation between Rashbaum and Donna, and he's going to have to get along, or she's going to have to get along with both of them, right? So it's not just getting along with Donna, but mostly you're going to be dealing with Donna. And so I would say Donna's going to have a huge influence on who's hired. And obviously the pay amount could be a wide discrepancy as well, but I think it's going to be at least $1 million, whoever they're bringing on. Here's a good question from Yank Kanik. Will there be another jury consultant? I think they probably will, even though it didn't help them on this particular case. I think they probably will spend another $1 million on that as well. So think of all the millions of dollars they're racking up. And so the thing is, the jury consultants just coming in and out of there, I've never seen that before. It's really, really, I think, strange because the thing you do during the voir dire jury selection process is you're trying to build a rapport with the jurors. And then if you up and leave and then you meet somebody else for the first time, or he's been quiet most of the time, which in Charlie's case was Rashbaum. So it just looks really weird. And them hiring outsiders. I've said that before, that I've heard of a jury where they thought that was really suspicious in a criminal case. Out of state attorneys or long distance attorneys are coming in because the client must know that they're really guilty, and that needs somebody to basically trick the jury into thinking they're innocent. Thinking they're innocent. So in any event, looking for more red question marks here. Somebody from Greece there. Wow. All right. I bounced around. Sorry, I saw a question I was going to snag, and then I missed it. Here's red. Okay. All right. So here, hotshot guy is saying, Rashbaum meddling with comments between Donna and Charlie. Rashbaum conflict of interest, possible problem for him representing Donna. Well, if one of them wants to roll on the other, he's gonna have to leave right away. That's what happens in my state licensing requirements. There's a conflict of interest inherently because you have co-accused for the same type of crime, same act of murder against the victim. So in this particular case, I guarantee you he has a written waiver of any conflicts of interest. But to the extent that they're denied conflict-free counsel, or it becomes an issue on who has he better loyalty to, Donna versus Charlie, then it could become an issue, and it could be an issue on appeal. So, for example, if Donna says, I want to roll over on Charlie, he's not going to be able to advise her on that. And he's going to have the local attorney talk to her about that. And he's going to have to be basically walled off from that point on, unless that issue's overcame and is not an issue anymore. So here, John Smith says, why do you think they'll go for Rashbaum again when Charlie got a guilty verdict? Fool me once, right? So I think that, they're just comfortable with Rashbaum, and Rashbaum's probably telling him it was just the one bad jury. He just lucked out and got a bad jury, even though he did the jury consultant. And you know how Tallahassee people are; they're just not too bright and stuff like that. We'll get a better jury this next time. That's probably this kind of conversation that's going on. But the thing is, Rashbaum has been with him for so long. That's such a long relationship. So I think that all the times that they've called him and whatnot, maybe he'll give him more of a discount than other attorneys would. Not sure, but I think it's it is definitely. I think it's going to help justice in this case because it's going to get the trial faster, and I think a quicker trial is beneficial here because it's going to help the justice for the Markells. So Roberta Glass, hello. Why do you think Donna said she was planning to flee to a non-extradition country on a recorded line? Was she trying to get caught? No, I think she didn't think there was a recording going on. I think Charlie hung up, and I think she thought she hung up, but neither one of them had hung up. And so other than Charlie, so the recording was still going on, and they picked up her talking to Harvey. So it'd be curious to see if we hear what happened in the beginning part of that conversation, or if this was the beginning part, the one that happened after that. So no, but I think there's totally conversation with Harvey and not Charlie. And I got that as well from Fancy Fiction, as well as another source, that's what they believe is the reality of that. And I think Fancy is going to, when I talked to her, she was going to be on here tonight. So Fancy, if you had anything else to add that I have not added. So here's a question by Granny Juju. Was Donna speaking of Wendy on the tape to Harvey that she wanted to see your paperwork? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Wendy. Don't know for sure. She, could have been maybe an accountant of theirs, or somebody that has control of some of their trusts, or an attorney or something like that. It could be. I don't know if they're on good terms. That's the other question. Do you think Donna and Wendy are on good terms right now? She's not talking to her, so it's really hard to say. And maybe she won't be talking to her for the foreseeable future. She maybe doesn't trust her mom not to say something that's incriminating. Think about it. We haven't even heard Harvey talk to Donna yet. Now that she's been arrested. So what's going on there? And if she gets out of the suicide watch, I think she will in the near future. Once she gets out of suicide watch, then what's going to happen? Are they going to and then have recordings then of Harvey talking to her and Wendy talking to her? So that remains to be seen, but I suspect we would. Another question by Josie, same kind of thing we had before, but why would you hire the same counsel if the other one lost? Rosemary Romero saying, does Carl believe Charlie and Don are going to commit suicide in prison? I'm not going to say that how they're going to die per se. They may want to die. I think they'll both want to die at some point, but whether they actually do that or not, I don't wish that on anybody, even if they are convicted murderers. And I think that is a possibility, though, for not just one but both of them. And so there's going to be especially issues of violence that Charlie's going to be facing, and so I think that's going to be another avenue of a lot of money being drained from whatever assets they have in their estate. Yeah, so Grant Hubrick is saying Donna and Harvey each having a handful of sleeping pills. Donna tells Harvey to go first. Yeah, I can see that happening. And the thing is, a lot of times sleeping pills is not even something that you can necessarily die from. A lot of people think you can, but a lot of people survive that. So I don't know if that's a veiled effort for attention seeking or whatnot, but all right, I've already seen that. Well, similar question. Hotshot guy is saying, do you think there's any kind of conflict of interest for meddling communications between Donna and Charlie after the judge prohibited Donna from communicating with the family? So I think for meddling, and who's meddling between conversations? I guess I don't understand the question. So there aren't communications between Donna and Charlie's. That's what I'm saying. This was not that we have in the recording, but yeah, if she was talking to him, I think this was a conversation that would have happened probably while she's down in Miami. I don't know if it was where it occurred and what the date is. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, so just think about it. The Adelsons, half of them are up in Tallahassee jail, and one of them's going to be leaving there probably tomorrow or the next day to as he goes off to prison. All right, so we don't need any crude comments, please. So keep this respectable. Your comments, vulgar comments, I'm not going to allow on here. And I gave you a temporary timeout and struck the comment. But if you do that again, I'll put you in a permanent timeout. So please be respectful. Yeah, so Riley's asking, can the state add to the original discovery list if they get more phone calls or texts from cracking open WhatsApp? If they did actually do that, we don't know that. We haven't seen any documentation indicating they have tried, so that remains to be seen. But I definitely will have more. They'll have the jail calls probably to turn over as well. And like I say, there's probably additional incriminating information that we still haven't seen yet. Stevie Howell is saying, why would Donna want a speedy trial? What's the upside for her when the evidence is so strong? Or is it just not? Well, she doesn't want to stay in jail. So she's going to do whatever she can to try to flee. She already tried to flee the country to avoid going to jail. And now she's just thinking, okay, well, I just want this over with. I'm going to beat this charge up there in Tallahassee. And so might as well speed it up. I mean, Rashbaum doesn't need to study the evidence. And if the other second attorney that's local is just there more or less to show her the evidence and walk through it with her, she's probably already seen all the evidence anyway. Then, I mean, I'm sure they've been talking to Rashbaum besides him dealing with Charlie. So, yeah, there's probably the fact that she already knows the evidence like the back of her hand, and they don't have any evidence to present to counter it. So that's really something. Oops, I just lost my place there. I saw a question in red. All right, so here we have our law enforcement agencies watch for Wendy and Harvey trying to escape. Looks like they're looking at small airports, private planes. I don't know that they are, but I would hope we have neighbors and stuff for people tipping them off if they are doing something like that. Now that they're getting greater attention there in Florida, all across Florida, not to mention the nation and the world. Don't know what that's about. Sorry. Yeah, I've already answered that, Patty, and I think they will hire the jury experts again, assuming they're available. Just going to jump down here to the end, see the newest comments. And here I got somebody pulling on my jacket, trying to climb up. Yeah, Woodall here saying Donna's a fighter. She wants out. Yeah, I mean, she looked pretty aggressive there in the courtroom, and but that's going to wear out. She's not going to maintain that for a year and a half. Okay, YB saying have asked if I've been to a county in the county jail, so I can I tell you the conditions? So I've been to. There's like a standard structure for all the modern jails that have been made in the last 20, 30 years. And what they look like is they have individual cells for the inmates and big open bay areas. And they're normally 2 stories, sometimes 3. And sometimes if they're like in Dallas County, they can be, 8 stories tall. And so the thing is, they're there's a lot of metal doors. There's a lot of doors slamming and whatnot. There's a lot of people are loud. A lot of them have a habit of making loud noises and stuff like that. And it's there's a lot of darkness. There is some light through some of the narrow windows. The windows are always really narrow, so there's not a lot of great views to look out from a distance. But if you get right up to the window, a lot of times you could look out some. And the food is very terrible, and you just have no privacy really like you're used to. Granted, you can have a small cell that's maybe 10 by 4 or something like that, but it's not meant for long-term confinement, and so you don't have a lot of the rec time that you would in a regular prison, and you wouldn't be going to general education classes and stuff like that or college classes. So it's really a holding bay area, and it's a real miserable place to be. And even if they're brand new, I saw the brand new one they had down at Guantanamo, Cuba, and it was same kind of format. And so if the inmates act up or they're going on suicide watch, and obviously they're going to go into isolation cell, they're going to be really close to the control booth where the guard is. They're going to have multiple cameras, probably just on that one cell, to pick up on any video that could indicate self-harm. And so, yeah, they're going to be watched constantly. The jailers have to put a lot of notes on what they observe. As we've seen, Donna is being naked on her mattress, and we've seen that about Charlie as well. So don't know why that is, if they're both trying to act up, and if they talked about this beforehand. So Bud Fox is asking, would the capture of Harvey and Donna's conversation be admissible in court, given they didn't have a wiretap order from the judge? Well, the fact they didn't hang up, I think that would be admissible. And so they having a conversation in front of another party, the fact that you didn't know that the line disconnected, I think that'd still be admissible. But they have so much evidence, even if it doesn't come in, I wouldn't be worried about that. Tamara Bullock says it's concerning that they have not arrested Wendy yet. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that the speedy trial of Donna would speed up the arrest of Wendy. And so I think that they're gearing towards that. I think they need to. Otherwise, there's going to be pretty much a continued increase in demands. I think demands for justice on this are not going to go away. Here's a question from CJ asking, do you think that they'll ask for a change of venue? Will the jury know that Charlie's convicted? Yeah, I think they will, just like they did in Charlie's case. Granted, there's more public attention. It's more recent. And so I think that that's something that's going to be asked for, but it's not going to be granted, I don't think, because not enough jurors have paid enough close attention. And it's not a standard whether you have heard anything, it's whether you've formed any conclusions and whatnot. And so just hearing about some case, as long as you keep an open mind and did not presume the person's guilty. Ronald Mail is saying, do lawyers like speedy trial? Defense attorneys don't like it. It really puts them under the pressure and whatnot a lot of times. But if it's a case where you can gain leverage and whatnot, you can always change your mind and say you don't want speedy trial and hope that the judge allows you to build up more time. And the judges would probably be lenient and allow that to happen just because they want to make sure the both counsel for both sides are ready to go. Teresa's asking, the fact that the boys are victims, would the DA not be allowed to have calls? Donna Adelson not be allowed to have calls with them? Yeah, that's something that that remains to be seen. I think the victims per se, yeah, they are the boys. So yeah, that's sort of something you think would be applicable, but whether they put them on the phone or not, I do think that we'll hear then at some point the calls that the elder boy made with Charlie, because we've heard reports that there was a lot of phone calls between them. So we'll get to see that relationship dynamic, I think, with the rollout of these audios. Hotshot Guy is asking, do I think Rashomon and Don are using the conflict issue as a basis for the appeal strategy? I mean, it potentially could be, but I think they're both thinking that they're going to get acquitted. So I don't think they're thinking ahead that much. And I don't see them flipping on each other. I think there's only flipping that Charlie would do if in the event that Donna dies while she's there in the jail or prison if she's convicted. So yeah, I think it's going to take Donna's death before Charlie would roll over. I think a lot of people would think the same thing. So here's a question from Stephen Marks is asking, will Charlie end up in the same prison as Mark Sievers? I'm not familiar with who that is. So if any of you guys here on the chat can answer that for him. Is that another murder? I have no idea. There's so many of them out there nowadays. I mean, you can't keep up. So Rosemary Rivera is asking, is Charlie in the same prison as Garcia and Rivera? And if Donna's convicted, will she end up in the same prison as Katie Magbano? No, I think they'll keep him in separate prisons. And he's not there yet. So keep in mind, he's not there yet. And he may go to one just for processing and maybe be transferred to another one after some weeks. Because I think they have a lot of overcrowding. That's what I've seen. I encourage you to go on YouTube and look at Florida prisons to see what the prison life is like. It is not fun. So John Smith is asking, how quickly can they realistically book the trial, even with Rashbaum, the new lawyer they plan to add, will need to be brought up to speed. Hard to see it taking less than a year. No, really, there's not that much when you stop back and look at it. You know, you could listen to all the wiretap recordings within a week. You could listen to the Dolce Vita and the other Matsuri tape. You could go through the police files. I mean, you could easily do that in the speedy trial period, I think. And so I think most attorneys want more time to really process it, think about what experts to call and what defense witnesses to support your theory, but there is really no theory that they have any witnesses to support that are credible and can present a plausible, logical explanation of innocence. So here, tennis girls asking, do we know if Wendy called the school the day of the hit to make sure both kids are okay? Well, in the last trial for Charlie, she said she had not checked on him. So that was really, I thought, very much an indicator that she knew what was going on. She didn't bother to check the school when she saw the police cars in front of the house and all the vans and stuff, the evidence crime scene unit vans. So here's LJ saying, do you agree that Leon County was nice compared to Charlie's new state pen environment? I think it'll be a huge step down. Well, the violence that you have in the prison is what's going to happen. I mean, he's going to be around all these violent murders. Leon County Jail. He's probably the only one right now on being held for murder. And once he gets transferred there and he gets put in the most violent population cells, he may have to go to protective custody initially, but I think he's just going to go crazy in protective custody. He's going to risk going out there in general population, just like he did when he got to jail. He initially was on suicide watch and whatnot, and he was just begging to get out of there, and they had let him out after a few days. So, yeah. So Andy School's asking, how many appeals do you think Charlie will try once he's done and loses all? Do you think that is when he could possibly tell the truth? Like he wouldn't hold out while exhausting all appeals? Yeah, that could be another issue. Like if his mom would have to die and all the appeals would have to be gone. But I think if he gets so overwhelmed with the way he's treated in the jail cell, that prison cell, then that may be something where he says, forget the appeals. And think about also, he could appeal it all the way up, try to appeal it all the way up to the Florida Supreme Court. If that doesn't work, he could also have a lawyer file it in federal court, writ of habeas corpus. Federal courts a lot of times will set aside state court actions. I shouldn't say a lot of times. I mean, there are quite a number of them out there where they set aside constitutional violations that proceeded on in the state court criminal proceedings, and yet the Supreme Court's didn't act on them. So a federal judge could step in and take over. So yeah, that sometimes happens. So that could be something they try to pursue as well. But you're talking about a lot of money being burned through. Okay, here's Jim Parsons asking, is WhatsApp scrubbed from all phones? Can't seem to verify it. I do not know. I know you can delete the stuff that's on your phone at any time. And so that could probably still be recoverable by law enforcement, but the actual messages sent out through the encryption line, maybe that's not able to be recovered. So if it's on your phone, they can probably get it. If you delete it from your phone, then maybe they can't, because it has some kind of encryption line separate from the phone. Not sure exactly how that works, but they were able to get some of that, keep in mind, in the Murdo case. Patty Ann is asking if I could invite Robert to do a podcast with you. You and him would be a great show. Robert, I don't know who Robert is. Sorry. Tiffany's asking, do you think that Wendy will come around and let the boys see the Markells? Meanwhile, Donna's in jail. I sure hope so, but I just don't really have any hope for these people to do the right thing for the boys. All right, just looking for, here's some more red questions. Thank you. Red questions, Mark. Angela's Whittick's asking, do you think Katie knows more? And if so, why is she holding out? I think she's still worried about, Tully spilling the beans more and having Sigfredo mad at her. So I think that's something that if they could allow the two to get together and talk about it, then they might talk. But I think Sigfredo's going to tell her, shut up, don't say anything. And so I don't think that would be productive either. And I don't think it'll probably happen. I don't think the law enforcement will let that happen. But maybe if they pass it through their attorneys or something like that. But that's the kind of stuff we're probably not going to have insight on. Oh, maybe. Oh, were you talking about Robert Adelson, having him on? I don't see him wanting to do that. Yeah, I did hear somebody sent me the podcast for him. I have heard about the podcast before, but somebody sent it to me the other day. And so I appreciate you sending me that link. And because I looked at a link earlier and it was not on, so I was able to hear it this last time, and also heard his wife talking about how they were treated, and basically said you got to pick between the family and your fiance or girlfriend at the time. So yeah, that was pretty really strange to hear that. Talk about taking control and override. Here, Vaticus, do you think Charlie will be in danger from the Latin Kings once he's placed in a prison permanently? I think he's going to be probably more a target for the Aryan nations, because they're the ones that hate Jewish people so much and are extremely violent. And I'd say they're probably more violent than the Latin Kings, is my guess. So yeah, it could be any number of gangs, and they could be fighting over who's going to get the biggest extortion check from him on a monthly basis or weekly basis or wherever it turns out to be. So Terry Mack is saying Katie definitely has a lot more up her sleeve. I truly think her sons are being taken care of financially by Adelsons. What do you think? Yeah, I mean that still could be possible. Yeah. So Pepper, hello. This is do a podcast with Roberta Glass. Okay, yeah, that Roberta Glass. I just came across her a couple weeks ago, and yeah, she's excellent. She's up on in New York City, and she has a great legal mind and understands criminals from what I've seen, and has a great voice too for doing this. So yeah, she's it's great to have her covering this case as well. J-Man says, I don't think Robert has anything to do with this mess. I don't blame him. Yeah, I really feel sorry for him, because can you imagine what, having these murderous people as a part of your family growing up? I mean, just imagine how crushed he is emotionally that, his dad was one that cut him off. His dad cut off the Ben and Lincoln's father. I mean, that's just, wow. All right, so yeah, a lot of people liking Roberta Glass. That is easy to see. See why? Yep. So Debbie Martin, they still have rental properties, right? So who's collecting monthly rents? Maybe why Wendy isn't working these. Well, they have a I'm sure accountants and lawyers and stuff like that running their trusts while they're locked up. So I think that's what's probably going to be paying the attorney bills and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure they have general power of attorneys and whatnot to handle all that in case all of them get arrested. All those are set up already. So I think I'm about done here with questions. So Maya is saying, agreed that Donna thought that the suicide threats and fainting spells would show them and she'd be let out, and it backfired. So yeah, I think that she probably didn't stop to think that the stuff's being recorded could be used against her. And yeah, just act up and act crazy, and they're just not going to want to deal with you and let you out. So yeah, there could be some truth to that. Northern Ireland is saying, do you think that Dawn on the stand would be a car crash? I imagine she'd relish the tension. Yeah, I think she'd be like Charlie. I think she owns the room. I think she would be able to talk her way out of it. And it's just gonna be an absolute disaster for her. Yeah, because any sympathy that a 73-year-old would have as being a accused murderer on a witness stand, and even if she doesn't testify, I'm telling you, once they bring out the what they did to the boys and are doing to the boys, which denying visitation for the Markells, I think that is so evil that any sympathy is out the window. That'll make them have a very quick conviction, just like they did for Charlie. Here's Leslie saying, was Charlie's conviction admissible in Donna's trial, or would his appeals process need to be completed first? I think that's a good question. I think that they probably. Oops, my camera went out. Okay. I think that's a question for state law. I'm not familiar with what their state law proceedings would be, but a conviction is definitely not per se final until all the appeals are adjudicated and finalized. So let me see if I can switch cameras here. No, it's not letting me. Settings here. Yeah, the camera's overheating, but I will say this. John is just showed me a camera that he bought that has actually internal fans to it. I do not know why this thing keeps overheating, just like the other two that he had got for me. So thank you, John. I'll be shipping this one back and some other equipment back to John here, or bringing it back to him when I head out of here to visit him for Christmas. Charlie Griffin is asking, could you please explain Wendy's immunity and how it will affect her if she faces trial? I've said this a number of times before, so I think that the um, the thing is, you cannot. There's no immunity in any state or federal court that allows you to just blatantly lie about things and things that affect the material aspects of the case and then the prosecution here in this criminal proceeding. So the um, the immunity is not transactional, meaning she did not have immunity from being ever prosecuted. It was just having to do with anything she said in court. And there's nothing she said in court that was really incriminating other than the fact that she was lying about stuff that would somewhat show she's lying to protect herself. But she did not put any weight on any of the family members. She only did so in her initial police interview, in which case she was not under a subpoena with any kind of immunity protection. So I think the whole thing is much to do about nothing. That you can prosecute people, and most prosecutors do not really like going down that road to prosecute perjury. But in this case, you got 3 murder trials. The seriousness of it goes way up if it's a murder case, and so I would be very disappointed if the prosecution doesn't do that. So Lori O is asking, any thoughts on why Donna didn't want to let Charlie know about her escape to Vietnam? Well, I think that we don't know for sure if that was disclosed to him or not. I think the tapes, once they're revealed, we will know that. So maybe they didn't want him to know, and maybe their cell phones would work overseas. I'm not sure if they would, but so Kai Ocean's asking if I've updated the list of 100. How's that coming along? Can't wait to hear. No, I have not had a chance to do it. I've been so busy with other things that, but that's still in my back of my mind of something I need to do. Okay, Rosemary Romero is asking, what do I think Donna's defense will be? Well, I don't think she'll, if she has Rashomon, it's probably going to be the same kind of defense. So we know how that went. Gabrielle Mason's asking, why do I think this trial garnered so much attention? Actually, I think it's garnered a lot less attention than it really should have. And I think it just really shows the amount of privilege you can have if you come from a wealthy family that's donated to the right people. And you got a state attorney, elected official that's tied to Tallahassee, which is the actual capital for the whole state of Florida. So even though Tallahassee is not a big town and it's not really an industry leader or commercial center hub or tourist center like so many other parts of Florida, that's very extremely political. Everything that goes on there. So I would say, including the state attorney's office, and so connections are made that with other politicians from Miami who come up to Florida to do legislative sessions and whatnot, then that's the kind of thing that can then gum up justice and delay justice for so many years, like it has. So I think, let's see here. I'm looking for. Stephen Kramer's asking, what's the difference between conspiracy to commit murder and solicitation? Well, those are separate statutes that all states have. They also have them under federal military courts as things to prosecute. Conspiracy is an agreement among at least one other person to commit the offense of murder, and at least one of the parties has to do an act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Not all of them have to act in furtherance of it. There has to be a meeting of the minds, though. And normally there's going to be some kind of discussion on how to go about it and whatnot. So a lot of times you need to, in order to prove that, you need folks to roll over on each other as part of the co-conspiracy. But it's not always necessary. If you got circumstantial evidence that indicates that, then you can deduce that there was actually knowledge and assistance to the commitment of the murder. Solicitation is asking another to commit the murder. So the in a way, those are two very much could be tied together, but the asking solicitation is, I would say, easier to prove because all you have to do is ask somebody. You don't have to have a meeting of the minds to do it. And a lot of times, what you see is like undercover cops or something are asked to commit the murder, and then they get busted because they got them on tape, they got them transferring money and stuff like that. So solicitation is an easier one to prove. There's less aspects to it. Conspiracies are sort of a little bit more convoluted, I think, but I think they're harder for people to understand just in general terminology. But when you actually get into court, I don't think it's so difficult. And the actual ability to prove someone being a principal, meaning the actual murder themselves, like Donna's charged with murder, right? She's charged with these two as well as murder. To be guilty of murder, there's no like big amount of evidence of things you have to do to assist as being um, part of a murder that would qualify as a principal. So doing a simple act like finding out if the victim's going to be in town that day, that something that simple could be an act that could be showing that you're part of the murder plot. And if you're part of the murder plot, then that stands alone. You don't even have to look at the conspiracy. So a lot of times I think it's easier for jurors to actually look at the murder element, murder one being easier to digest and process in your mind based on the evidence than it is actually the conspiracy aspect. So usually if there's conspiracy to commit murder, there's also an actual principal element aspect as well that's going to be charged, especially if the murder is consummated and actually taken effect. So the gardener is saying, I hope that people aren't disappointed if they learn the boys might be allied with the Adelsons. Yeah, I mean that's really troubling because I think you're onto the truth there. Because look at them, they're talking to Charlie. One of them's talking to Charlie a lot. So what kind of influence have they had? Yeah, it's really sad. So Faticus is asking, you think he'll be in protective custody most of the time in prison? I think initially he will, but I think Charlie wants to be this sort of this. He's going to be the maestro, and so he's not going to be wanting to go under protective custody. But even in protective custody, like I've said before, the federal inmate, a Jewish one, was killed by some fellow inmates in a federal prison in Ohio just a couple of years ago. So no place in prison is ultimately safe. So Eileen McCarthy is saying, do you think all these podcasters, people following, has helped keep attention focused on Dana's horrific crime? Absolutely. I think it does dial up pressure on the state. And I think it's encouraging for the Markells as well. And I think it gives reason for the wrongdoers, the criminals, to also not sleep as good and wonder if any day or time they could have a knock on the door and the door kicked in and you have a SWAT team apprehending them. So as should be the case. They should not be able to sleep well till every one of them's arrested. RBJ is asking, do you agree that prosecutors must feel they don't have enough evidence to get past reasonable doubt to convict Wendy? Well, I would say if they think there's not enough evidence, then I would say they need to relook it or get somebody who is able to see the light on this. So look at how long they waited on Charlie. They said they need more evidence, and the only thing that developed over time was enhancement of Dolce Vita, and yet the case was so strong they didn't even need Dolce Vita to convict him. So that's my take on it. So no, that's not an excuse, and there's more evidence we don't know out there. So I think the evidence will come to light here before too long. So just looking for some other questions here. Bear with me. Yeah, I'm not gonna, I think her defense will probably be the same ridiculous defense. Rosemary Romero is asking, do I think the Markells will sue the Adelsons for wrongful death? That is always a possibility. There's no statute of limitations for murder. And, normally trust can prevent you from having the ability of folks to attack that. But I don't know, for murder, maybe there's a Florida exception. I don't know. I'm not a civil Florida attorney. So parental alienation. Am I worried about Wendy doing a murder suicide with the boys? I mean, that's a scary thought. I don't really want to think about it. I think it is a possibility. A lot of people are talking about it. I know my brother John is concerned about it. He's the first one to raise that up. I had not really thought of that angle, but that is something that definitely is out there. Is something happens a lot nowadays, including people that fall from high up in the social economic level of society. Yeah, I just listened to that real quick message that was between Harvey and Donna today. Well, you really can't hear Harvey per se, but yeah, Donna was talking to Harvey. So yeah, hopefully my tech issues are not an enduring thing. So need to get past this. But thank you for bearing with me on this. Yeah, it's uh I think it reflects well on you guys, is because you want to help fight for justice for Markel. So Yeah, I don't think Donna's going to turn her back on Harvey because she's free and he's locked up on because she's locked up in prison. Yeah, she's not in prison yet, but I just don't see her rolling over. I think she's just going to, if she's convicted, I think that's when she's really going to have her mental decline. I don't see her flipping on anybody, frankly. LJ's asking, what about charging Harvey with aiding Donna's attempted flight from prosecution? It's on tape. Yeah, but they didn't know about the arrest being imminent, and so that there's no attempt to flee jurisdiction at that point. I don't see that being a legitimate case under Florida law, which I haven't looked at, but in most states that would not be an issue. Just because you want to leave the country overseas, even if it was permanent, there's no law against that. But yeah, I'm just thankful that that person was able to call the state attorney's office and tip them off. That was a really great, honorable thing that they did. Charlie Griffin's asking, could the state be holding off on charging Wendy because they're pouring over Donna's phone for more evidence? I think they just made a decision to do these one at a time and just see what happens and where they feel at the time. So I don't think there's any necessarily set target plan of when they're going to do it. And I would say that they're going to do it probably, if they're going to do it probably right around the time of her conviction. So if we have speedy trial, I would say now we're moving up the benchmark for Wendy being arrested sooner. Here's a good question from Janice. Why do you think Harvey did not come up to Donna's hearing? I think they are fearful that if they sit anywhere near Tallahassee, they're definitely going to be up in the chances that they're never going to leave there short of a conviction. So yeah, here's another good question from the Sundance Spirit. Do I think that the state is feeling more pressure after hearing Diane Markell's victim's statement, given that due to the arrest taking so long, more damage occurred to the Markells and the boys? Yeah, that's really if that doesn't stir them and motivate them to go after more Adelsons, then yeah, that's why I think speed is of the essence. When I know kids are being harmed and they were at the actual murders, I think that would be like you do everything possible to get this thing moving forward and get the right prosecutors on the case who are willing to take the case. If anybody was not sure that they knew how to prosecute the case, then I would not want them at counsel table there for the prosecution. So with that, I'm going to wind things up here. We're at a little over an hour, but thank you for your attention and focus on this case. We will have another session here in the coming days, and I may be talking about some of those videotapes. If there's any revealing information that's incriminating, I'll definitely want to talk about that. One other last question here. Ellen is asking, with all the money spent on lawyers, is there any money left for the boys? I think there still is some millions left because they have a number of rental houses. We don't know which ones those are or how many or what kind of cash flow, positive cash flow they're bringing in. But I think that there's still some left for the boys. But yeah, they're really burning through the money there. I'll tell you that. So in any event, with that, I'm signing off for the night, and thank you all. Have a great night.